Caramel pecan rolls are not difficult to make. You can even use a bread machine to make it easier. I'm Marcia McDonald with Pacific Northwest Suburban Homesteading. Today, my dad, Mike Brewer, will show us how he makes his version of this tasty treat.
Well, today I'm going to be making pecan cinnamon rolls. The dough is going to be made with a bread machine, and the reason that we're not going to do that much with the bread machine, because if anybody's got a bread machine, the recipe will probably come out different, or the times will come out different, but the results will be probably the same thing. You'll end up with dough, and that's what I'm going to do here.
This is an example of how many of us take a published recipe and make it our own over time. To make this a lower effort dessert, Dad started out with a recipe from the book that came with his bread machine. Over time, he marked up his book more and more. He changed some amounts of ingredients and altered the method materially. These rolls are nicely cinnamony and not too sweet. I find that there is a nice balance between the caramel and the bread to make a lovely treat without being too gooey or overly sweet. When I make this, I'll use my stand mixer because I don't have a bread machine. It also would work if needed by hand. You could also substitute whatever bread machine recipe you have and follow his recipe for the filling and topping. A link to the recipe he uses is in the description.
Things that would have to go from the recipe for making this off of my bread machine. Three and a quarter cups of flour. And then there's 1 egg. I've already put 2 tablespoons of butter in here. It's already in. I'm putting a quarter cup of sugar, then a teaspoon of salt, 1 cup of water, putting 3 teaspoons of dry yeast, there's fast acting yeast. I just use just regular common yeast. So while the bread's mixing and raising and being ready to work up to make the rolls out of it, will be about 1 hour and 35 minutes. Well, meanwhile, I'll be over preparing the other part of the recipe. Okay, one of the things for preparation for when the rolls come out of the oven is a platform to put them on, and this is a piece of cardboard covered in tinfoil. And one of the nice things about it, when you get done, it's messy and you can just throw it away, and it works really well. First part is to grease the pan. I'm using butter to grease the pan with. It just keeps things from sticking so much. We tried using cooking spray, but it seems like this seems to do the best job for me, because when you turn this over, when you invert it to dump them out onto this sheet, it comes right out. Let me just set this aside for now. And then to mix the caramel with the brown sugar and the butter and everything, you mix together to put the pecans in it, and then we'll be all set up to set the cinnamon rolls on top of all of this when it raises. The mixture is pretty thick to get it going. Sometimes it needs a little bit of help by put it in the microwave for a few seconds to kind of soften up the butter so it just mixes better, so I'll flatten it out in the pan when because right now it really won't flatten too much. And the syrup that I'm using, a little bit thick, so I put it in some warm water to warm it up so it comes out of the bottle. So it'd be here all day if it wasn't for that. It takes 2 tablespoons of syrup. Stuff's too thick to spread in the pan, so I'm going to warm it up in the microwave for a few seconds just so that it's easier to work. That was 12 seconds and it really helped. I can actually stir it up now. This is the caramel glaze that goes over the cinnamon rolls. That works a little better when it's warm. Need to do that more often. It's much better. Now it's time for the pecans. Take 1 cup of pecan halves and I just place them on top of the brown sugar mixture that I put in here, which will turn into the caramel part of it. When it comes out of the oven, you invert it onto the tray and it runs all through it and kind of puts the finishing glazed touch on it. The original recipe calls for probably 2/3 of the amount of nuts. I like the pecans. It adds a lot to the texture of the cinnamon rolls. I've never tried this with any other type of nuts, just the pecans. But I'm sure that you probably use other nuts like walnuts or whatever you would choose. Okay, so that part of it's done. Now it's going to be a kind of a waiting game until the dough comes out. Spread a little flour so it don't stick. There, that just makes it so it's not so sticky. Now we spread it out so that it's 10 inches wide and 15 inches long. It really doesn't matter how thick it is. Time you stretch it out that far, it's just right. Always nice to have a pastry target. I guess that's the name of it, but that's what I use it for. It's got all the dimensions right on it. You don't, it takes all the guesswork out of it. It's a little bit wider than 10 inches. It's great and okay. I'm just gonna roll it up anyway. Teaspoon, or tablespoon, I mean. So 2 tablespoons of cinnamon. I like to use 2 generous teaspoons of cinnamon. Spread the butter around as even as you can. The butter is a little warmer, it spreads a little easier, but give it a little time and get it everywhere. Half a cup of granulated sugar. Spread it around and press it. Use it to form the dough a little bit while you're doing this. And butter will help hold the cinnamon in when you cut it up. You roll it up as tight as you can roll it. I like to roll it right up on top of the seam. If you try to pinch it shut, it just makes a mess. You just kind of form it. This is active dough because it's starting to rise already. It's getting softer, so you need to get moving. You cut it in approximately 1-inch pieces. And that's where this comes out. And these are 2-inch squares. So it really helps on knowing where you're at when you're cutting it. This is not a knife, it's just a little pastry spatula. But it works really nice for cutting these up because I don't want to slice this thing all to pieces. And it works with a spoon where you can get them over without the cinnamon falling out. This takes a little practice to make it look easy. Sometimes it's not. want 15 pieces. Another thing I do is I'll need a nice warm place. So I'll set the oven for 105 degrees, no more. Now we wait for, should take approximately an hour until they double in size. It's kind of a slow process on the whole thing. It just takes a lot of time, but they're delicious when they're done. So I can see that they've raised enough where I can take them out now. Smells good. Now bring the oven up to 375. And then put them in to bake. Okay, we're up to temperature now. Set the timer for 20 minutes, and if they're not golden brown yet, I'll leave a little longer, or if they're just right, I take them out. But it'll be 20 minutes before they come out. We're all done. Okay, I'm going to invert these over. That's what this is for. Send it up on here. Let it set for about a minute or so until the caramel all soaks into everything. Kind of neat to look at. It's kind of bubbly in there. There you have it. Pecan Cinnamon Rolls.
And there you have my dad's caramel pecan cinnamon rolls. These are super good rewarmed with a pat of butter. We also add a small dish of water to make the rolls even softer. Hope you enjoyed watching the process and want to give the recipe a try. Until next time, be curious, keep an open mind, and never stop learning.